This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by Peninsula Regional Medical Center.
Well, professional football is no doubt bracing itself for the October 8th release of a book written by two sports reporters that promises to reveal how professional football sought to cover up and deny mounting evidence of a connection between football and brain damage.
And just last month, 4,500 retired professional players who said they had developed dementia and other brain disorders caused by the game agreed to a settlement of $765 million to be paid by the league. The plaintiffs in that lawsuit included Hall of Famer Tony Dorsett, quarterback Jim McMahon, and the family of linebacker Junior Seau, who committed suicide last year.
Now, while concussion talk has centered on professional football, the issue trickles down to every level of the sport, and that's why the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention launched the Heads Up Concussion in Youth Sports campaign. Public service announcements like this one telling the story of a teenager who suffered for months after getting a concussion are used to provide information on preventing, recognizing, and responding to a brain injury.
And a concussion is considered a brain injury, one that is not limited to athletes. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report that an estimated 135,000 children ages 5 to 18 are treated for sports and recreation-related traumatic brain injuries every year.
And that's why Peninsula Regional Medical Center, Peninsula Orthopedics Associates, and Children's National Medical Center have teamed up to educate the community about concussions. Dr. Laura Kelly is the medical director for the Children's National Medical Center Pediatric Hospitalists Group at PRMC. Dr. Kelly is also the mother of 4 children who have played sports, and she is currently a coach in a youth soccer league. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
This has really become a big topic of discussion, to the point where even President Barack Obama said if he had a teenage boy, I think he said boy,
yeah.
To play sport, he'd have to think about whether or not he'd let him play sports because of the risk of concussion. This really is a big talker right now, isn't it?
It is a big talker, and I think one of the messages we try to get out very quickly is that sports is good, that sports is healthy, and that children should participate in sports. And one of the things we talk about is gaining knowledge about concussions, gaining confidence that your kid is safe and taken well care of, and having the courage to go ahead and get out there on the fields and coach as I do, and manage what we need to keep kids safe.
Be aware, be prepared, and encourage participation, right?
That's right.
Well, let's go back a little bit. What exactly is a concussion?
So a concussion is also referred to as a minor traumatic brain injury. It is a brain injury. It happens when there's been a bump or a jolt or a hit to a head that makes a head change direction or get moved back and forth in a quick fashion, and it actually causes damage down to the cellular level. So there's chemical changes. It changes the way the brain thinks and feels, and that's what we see.
So there are danger signs that we can look for?
There are danger signs. They're rare, but the 12 most important danger signs, that's emergency danger signs to go over, is that if someone loses consciousness, even for just a few seconds, if they have uneven pupil size, certainly if there's seizure activity noted, slurred speech, things like a worsening headache as the moments go on, a player or a child that's drowsy and can't be awoken easily. They have vomiting or nausea, and if they're unable to recognize where they are, who the coach is, who the parent is, what's just happened. If they really seem clumsy, confused, have unusual behavior for them. For instance, sometimes kids will get very emotional, start crying, and you can't console them. All of these things are really danger signs. Those are what we want people to recognize, parents, coaches, trainers, right on the sideline, right to 911, right to the emergency room.
And there are also symptoms, something that perhaps we can look for a couple days after the incident?
That's right, Lisa. The symptoms actually can start anywhere from a few minutes to days or weeks or months as they go on. So you can have symptoms that are physical, the way you move, the way you feel, if you're fatigued, how you sleep. People can sleep more, they can sleep less, they can have sleep disruptions. How kids feel, this is very important, it's really injury of the brain, so how they're thinking cognitively, that just means how they can focus, how they're doing in school, how they respond to things, and then emotional. Kids can be more angry, more upset, more tearful. So all these things can happen right down to the to the level of the brain.
So let's say that we're seeing these signs and we determine finally that there is a concussion. Is there a way to treat a concussion?
Absolutely. The first thing is to recognize the concussion. So recognize and respond. And the treatment really is, if you suspect, sit them out. When in doubt about a concussion, sit the kid out and get medical evaluation. And then the treatment is really just resting the brain. So resting from the field and resting from school and other challenging activities. Screen time is one of them.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, preventing a concussion can be as easy as asking questions before you sign the child up for a sport.
That's
right?
correct. I mean, there are questions that for concerned parents, there are questions that are very helpful to ask your youth sport coach, your youth sport organization. Is there a general policy to manage concussions? Is there access to healthcare professionals either nearby or on the sidelines? If the coaches have had education on concussions, their actual sideline response plan on the sideline, whether there's availability of tools, and there's actually, we'll talk about, I think we speak to that, there's actually an app out now they can recognize right on the field things to look for. And what is the policy, and this is very important, what is the policy for informing parents, your return to play, and how do the coaches and parents work together? It's really a team approach. And with specific sports like football, like lacrosse, like soccer, there are certain techniques they use to limit contact, go through counts on how many hits, how practice is run, all those sorts of things. So these sorts of things are very helpful for parents to go through, particularly if they're concerned.
So talk to the coaches, talk to the
Talk to
organization.
the coaches, right.
Okay, you said something about an app.
There is an app. It's developed in conjunction with Children's National and CDC. It's the CRR app, or Concussion Recognition and Response app, and it actually can go right on the sideline for recognizing symptoms to tracking over days to weeks to months what a parent or family should do. So you'll see the app here. You know what just happened. A coach or a trainer is pressing this. Parents are doing this now,
right.
And they know right away sort of how to respond. It's very cool.
And there
Wow.
is an event that's coming up, Concussion Care for Kids. It's a team sport. The co-author of that app is actually going to be there speaking. It's Thursday, September 26th at 7 p.m. at Parkside High School Auditorium. If you want some more information, parents, coaches, anybody in the community can come. 410-543-7139.
Great stuff. Dr.
Dr. Kelly, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
There's some good stuff there.
And for more information on concussions and how to recognize them and more information on PRMC, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab. Well, it wasn't an injury that cut short baseball great Roberto Clemente's career, but a deadly plane crash in 1972. Before his death, Clemente intimidated Major League pitchers for 18 seasons as a Pittsburgh Pirate. Up next, his family shares not only his story with us, but never before seen photos of him both on and off the field.
But first, we just learned more about preventing concussions. Now let's turn to headaches. Dr. Oz helps us stop them in their tracks.
Let's be headache hunters. It may take a little detective work to find the cause of your headaches, but once you know, you can work to prevent them. Start by asking yourself these basic questions. Was it something you ate or drank? If so, avoid foods high in tyramine and nitrates, such as ripened cheeses, cured meats, and pickled foods. Was it something situational? Sleeping too little or too much? Or maybe fluctuating hormones and menstrual cycles, which are common causes for headaches, are the cause of yours. Was it something you took? Overusing over-the-counter pain medications can give you a rebound headache. Or was it something in the air? Changing weather patterns might be the reason. You might also be affected by aromas, perfumes, and air fresheners. To help you track down your triggers, download this headache diary at droz.com.